was spying on you here a couple days ago. I looked, and you're sitting pretty good in the intermediate open finals. They might let you ride again later on this week. So really cool. It's fun to see him do the cow horse deal. Great horseman and a great man. Got a great, beautiful family here. Thank you guys for coming and supporting your dad and husband. So, Mr. Chris Cox, here you go, buddy.
Thank you, Richard. I've had a lot of things happen in my life, but this is an honor to be asked to come here and speak. I've got a kind of an unconventional story. I was born in the United States and I was raised in Australia. My dad went to Australia and bought a ranch in the 60s. And so we grew up a long way from town and homeschooled a little bit. And so it wasn't ever really any faith in our, wasn't no faith in our family. My dad drank a little bit, quite a bit, fought. My older brothers drank and fought. Ran a lot of cattle, but it was like the Wild West. And I left home when I was real young, and I went off to boarding school, and I was a pretty good athlete. I was pretty good at rugby, but I was finding myself into fights and everything else. And I left home. I went and started a bunch of cults, and I always wanted to come to the United States. And when I was 18, I got enough money to buy a plane ticket. And I always believed in God. But I prayed every night, and you know, I can remember being in some situations to where this was just horrific, and I wanted to get away. And so I came here when I was 18 and no family, and just tried to survive. And I prayed at night, and I always prayed for the Lord. I said, please help my ambitions. You know, I was an ambitious person. And I went throughout the country and did some stuff and started doing some clinics and had a lot of failures, some success. And I always prayed for a family. Always wanted a family. I wanted a boy and a girl. And so, but I also prayed for a godly woman to be in my life. And so, but I never was committed to God. There's a big difference in believing in God, believing in the Lord, and being committed. I want to talk to you a little bit about that. So he helped my temper. I wanted to be so good with horses that I changed my personality. That was one step. I worked on my anger. I worked on everything else, and I got better. And then I had children. And when I held that little girl in my arms, you know, the light went on. The love of God and things that he showed me right there. And, you know, I know with Hadley, it's a special situation. There's nothing in this world could ever match that. The love of holding your own child and knowing that God is real. Knowing that he is real. And went on, I developed, I've had some success. I went to 4 world championships of Road to the Horse, and I was fortunate enough to win those. But when I came home, I was still empty. And success didn't make me feel any better.
No.
And so I developed some back problems, and my legs were starting to go numb. And I remember trying to show here 3 or 4 years ago, and I couldn't even move my legs. So much pain. I had a stents machine on. I already had an epidural. I was on painkillers and couldn't even get through running. And I went to several doctors, and they told me I had to have a fusion and possibly never be able to ride again. And so I ended up having 3 back surgeries on my back. And when God was still trying to tell me something. And so a good friend of mine in California finally fixed my back, and I got a fusion and an artificial disc. And it kind of rocked along, and 2 years later, I ended up getting up one morning doing some push-ups, and I couldn't move my left arm. I lost all control of my left arm. And so I called my friend up and got some MRIs, and discs were pinching on my nerves, and had to go get emergency surgery. I got 2 artificial discs put in my neck in January, and still trying to get some strength back in my left arm. So January the 11th, a good friend of mine that's a football coach out in California, is a college football coach. He came to the hospital, and he told me about this anti-inflammatory diet. And so he said, you know, no sugars, no carbs, blah, blah. And I wanted to feel so much better, I got on it. And I've lost 22 pounds. I feel as good as I've ever felt when I was 15. But that night, I dedicated myself to the Lord. There's a big difference between believing and dedication. I dedicated myself to my lifestyle change, and my whole life it turned around. There's a thing called COVID, and it hit in March. And our business is probably 65% of our business, our income is March, April, May. Just in 3 months, 65% of our business, it was shut down. And smartly or not, we've got 3 ranches, and didn't know what to do. And I just said, Lord, I'm going to give it all to you. I'm going to give you everything. I'm going to trust you. I know that you're the best accountant ever. And giving everything up was the best decision I ever made in my life. He took care of me, he took care of my family, he took care of the ranches, he took care of the employees. We didn't have to lay off one employee. It was just amazing. It was amazing how things have developed when I committed myself to him. One of the things that Richard and I do, I've been doing clinics for over 30 years, and he has as well too. So one of the hardest things to teach is feel. Everybody will say, how do you teach feel? Well, it's pretty tough. Can't teach it. You can see what feel does, or you can see what bad feel does. And that's like faith. It's like explaining to your friends that you believe in something you can't see. That's a tough deal when they're not believers. That's tough.